We begin this Tuesday morning with a pivotal day in the race for the White House. Vice President Harris and former President Trump are set to debate tonight in Philadelphia. Now, here's what's extraordinary. It's actually going to be their first ever meeting. For a time, it was unclear whether this debate would take place at all, with Mr. Trump threatening at one point to drop out before agreeing to go face-to-face with the vice president. This debate will take place without an audience at the National Constitution Center. Security is tight, with barricades put up around the building, barring access to this historic area that includes the Liberty Bell and Independence Hall. Now, history could be made again. Both campaigns hope tonight's debate is going to give them a boost heading into these final 8 weeks before Election Day. An average of polls shows Vice President Harris leading the former president in several battleground states, including Pennsylvania, but all within the margin of error. And if 2024 has taught us anything, it's that a debate can shake the political landscape like an earthquake. We have team coverage ahead, including analysis from NBC News senior national politics reporter Jonathan Allen. But let's begin with NBC's Dasha Burns, who covers the Trump campaign, and White House correspondent Monica Alba. They both made their way to Philly. Good morning to both of you. Dasha, let's start with you. Set the stage for us. This debate, of course, taking place in the battleground state of Pennsylvania, once again crucial for both sides. What should we know about tonight's debate, the format, and what's at stake?
Well, not to be dramatic, Joe, but what's at stake, could be the election. I don't think we can argue anymore that debates don't matter after what we've seen. And this is the first and potentially only time that we are going to see these candidates face off. As of now, this is the only debate that the two candidates have agreed upon. And this is going to be the same format as we saw with the debate against President Biden. This is 90 minutes, no audience, mics muted when you're not speaking, which was a sticking point between the two campaigns. The Harris campaign wanted mics unmuted. The Trump campaign wanted them muted. They are going to be muted, which could be an added benefit for the former president, but no audience, which is something he tends to work off of. So we'll see. There are pros and cons for both, but the stakes could not be higher.
Monica, let's bring you in to talk about Vice President Harris. This is actually going to be her first time on a debate stage in about 4 years since she took on Mike Pence in the 2020 vice presidential debate. Walk us through her prep, how she's getting ready for tonight.
She took her prep pretty seriously, Joe. She was holed up in a Pittsburgh hotel for about 5 days doing some extended sessions with a team of close advisors and allies who helped her prepare in various different sections for any kind of question that she could get. And this is somebody who, back to her days as a prosecutor, she likes to study. She pores over documents. I'm told that her team watched all of the Donald Trump debate clips. There's a lot of game film, you could say, there. So they really studied his answers on stage, because he is somebody who has had a lot of experience as someone in these kinds of matchups and contests versus Vice President Harris, who hasn't done that in a little while. So they wanted to make sure that she was able to run through this. She essentially faced off against somebody who is a longtime Democratic operative, Philippe Reines, who played Donald Trump in prep for Hillary Clinton back in 2016, and he did that again this time around. So they really went through it. They had a whole TV stage. They had lighting. They tried to really make it seem like it's going to be tonight in Philadelphia so she could practice that. But at the end of the day, she told reporters over the weekend she's ready. She feels like she's able to draw this contrast, which is what in her young campaign in the last month and beyond, she's been doing slowly. But tonight they really are hoping to make it very clear to the American public. But they're trying to lower expectations. They're saying that she's still the underdog in all of this. And they're still complaining about the debate rules, specifically the muted microphones. They're taking most issue with that part, Joe.
So, Dasha, this debate, pivotal for both, could be pivotal for former President Trump. Republicans are hoping this is going to maybe turn the page from the Harris's honeymoon period, with the polls appearing to stabilize. What is the Trump campaign's objective tonight?
Well, look, hearing Monica talk about Vice President Harris's preparation, it could not be more different on the other side. The former president holding no such mock sessions. He's had some policy sessions with advisors. But from what I'm hearing behind the scenes, the goal that the campaign wants the former president to focus on is twofold. Number one, tie Harris to Biden, try to tie all of the things that voters might be frustrated about right now, whether it's the economy or immigration, high gas prices, tie that to Harris to Biden, make them one and the same. And number two, remind folks of some of the positions she held earlier in her political career when she was running for president in 2020, for example, and try to paint her as a flip-flopper. Now, she's explained why some of those positions have changed, but the former president wants to try to define her before she can define herself, because this is a big moment for her to define herself for the American public. And look, Joe, we talked about how the week after Labor Day was like the starting gun of this election cycle. I think for a lot of voters, tonight is when the election really begins, because they get to see these two very different candidates on the same stage, in the same context, and really see the contrast. And a lot of people just tuned out over the summer. So, Monica, what's interesting is one of the people helping Mr. Trump prepare is former Democratic Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. I recall during one of the 2020 primary debates, Gabbard went after Harris's record. Well, as a prosecutor, some would argue it shook Harris a little bit during that debate. How could that play into tonight's debate?
Yeah, that's something that her team certainly is aware of and was considering in terms of the preparation this time around. And it was then Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard who went after then Senator Harris on criminal justice reform and on this issue that really did become a big moment from that evening. And so they feel like there was this sense that maybe she wasn't as prepared for a broadside like that at the time, and they want to make sure that that's not going to happen this time. But they are arguing that her experience in the last few years and what she's been able to do and sort of some of the other rhetorical, opportunities she's had as vice president means that she will be ready for this moment. But they're also preparing, they believe, and this is something that she signaled in a radio interview that aired yesterday, that they know there are going to be low blows, and the vice president is prepared for derogatory comments from the former president, we're told, and that she's really explored every scenario, and they've tried to have a response ready for that. But that's what they're telegraphing that they're expecting tonight.
All right,
Joe.
Dasha and Monica kicking us off this hour. Thank you both. For more, we're joined by NBC News senior national politics reporter Jonathan Allen. John, good to have you with us. So the Biden-Trump matchup showed us just how much a debate can impact a campaign. That was in June. It felt like a year ago. What are you going to be watching for here tonight?
I think the big thing to watch here tonight, Joe, is Kamala Harris and how she handles this situation. Everybody knows how they feel about Donald Trump, whether they love him, whether they hate him. He is a very well-defined character, a well-defined politician and policy guy for the electorate. Kamala Harris, not as much. What we see in polling, even though she's been vice president for almost 4 years, there's still some variability with her. People aren't entirely sure, how they feel about her, whether they think she should be president. And so, I think, ironically, because usually when Donald Trump's on stage for a second straight debate, most eyes are going to be on Kamala Harris. I say second straight, should say most eyes will be on the Democratic candidate, because the last time, of course, it was Joe Biden.
Such a great point. There are still a lot of people who don't know her, and she still can be the candidate who's most defined by this debate. This could end up being the only presidential debate before the election. So what is on the to-do list for both candidates?
Look, to the point before that Kamala Harris remains undefined for some of the electorate, Donald Trump's going to go after her. I mean, his goal is, scorched earth here, basically. He needs to define her in a negative way for the electorate. There are a lot of different ways to do that. It's not clear quite yet what paths he will take, but ultimately the idea for him is to bring her down. For Kamala Harris, the idea is to be a contrast, to make sure that this is not a referendum on a Biden administration that she is part of, to make voters take a look at Donald Trump and take a look at her and decide that she is a better choice than he is to lead the country for the next 4 years. So some, kind of differing goals there, and we'll see who's able to win that clash of, aims.
John, this is so hard to believe. It's going to be the first time Harris and Trump actually meet in person. I mean, how do you think that sort of interpersonal dynamic will impact tonight? I'm going to guess no handshake before the debate, but I guess we'll see.
I guess we'll see. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if there was a handshake, in part because they haven't met before. So as much as they may have said bad things about each other over time, they haven't met. A handshake would seem normal to me. It would seem not just civil, but like, you meet somebody the first time, you shake their hand. But we'll have to see. I do think that regardless of whether they shake hands, we are in for some powerful punching. And, what we've seen from Kamala Harris before on the debate stage is that she's able to give as much as she gets.
John, hoping for normal and civil. We will see. John Allen, good to have you with us. Thanks as always.
Thanks, Jim.
And you can watch tonight's presidential debate right here on NBC News Now and on NBC. Our coverage kicks off at 8 p.m. Eastern. An extensive manhunt is still ongoing for what police are calling an armed and dangerous suspected shooter in southern Kentucky. 32-year-old Joseph Couch is still on the run after allegedly opening fire on 12 vehicles from the side of an interstate highway over the weekend. 5 people were wounded, all of them in stable condition now. According to an arrest warrant, Couch has been charged with 5 counts of attempted murder and first-degree assault. Take a listen to what one state police trooper had to say during yesterday's update on the search.
This manhunt has become a methodical effort, similar like a hide and seek. We're focused on protecting the residents and their homes and the businesses during this critical time. Our goal is to apply steady pressure and wearing Mr. Couch down.
NBC News terrorism analyst Jim Kavanaugh joins us now. He's also a retired ATF special agent in charge and former hostage negotiator. Jim, good to have you with us. So the forest where this suspect is believed to be hiding is thousands of acres. The state police trooper we just heard from said it's like a jungle in there. So if it is like hide and seek, what are the best strategies to try and narrow down that search area when the terrain is this challenging? I mean, where do you even start?
Right, Joe. That Daniel Boone National Forest encompasses 21 counties, just to give people an idea of the vast nature of it. Well, the first thing you start when you get there as on-scene commanders is you get with the district ranger of the National Forest Service for the forest. And he's going to have a team of rangers that know the territory. And they're going to be able to help you map out your search areas. And then the search is broken down by agencies, the Kentucky State Police, SWAT team, FBI, Marshal Service, ATF. They all have SWAT or SRT, Special Response Team, which is an interchangeable term. And they will use those teams because they're trained and used to operating in very rural environments. But I'll tell you, Joe, I think this guy's probably already dead. This whole act has the feel of a suicide, homicide. He left his car. He left his brand new AR-15. I mean, if he wanted to continue killing, why would he leave those? And in fact, he left a text message claiming he'd kill himself. I think they should add on some cadaver dogs and start where he was last seen shooting and, go out a mile or two and you might find him.
Yeah, I mean, Jim, it was revealed Monday that Couch had texted someone just 30 minutes before the shooting that he intended to, quote, kill a lot of people. I mean, even though police found an AR rifle believed to be used in the shooting at the scene, he's still described as armed and dangerous. We only have a few seconds here, but what kind of information do you think police are trying to develop right now to help find him?
Well, all his relatives, any of his electronic devices that were left behind, was there anybody else he was trying to target? Would he be trying to get out of the woods to go kill someone else or harm someone else? It doesn't sound like it from what we know. I think the better chance is he's already shot himself. He might have had a handgun with him or jumped into a gorge. But they've got to cover all the bases, and they've got to continue to search for a while. But they could put the people's, the citizens' fears at ease if they could even find his body, because at least it would be the final answer. So they can't give up. They got to press forward. But I hope they would add some cadaver dogs in, and they might be able to get right to him. Or look for the buzzards, Joe. Sometimes they'll take you right to him.
All right. Jim Kavanaugh, good to have you with us. Thanks as always. Now to the Middle East,
Joe.
where this morning search and rescue operations are underway after an Israeli airstrike on a crowded tent camp in a Gaza humanitarian zone. For more, we're joined by NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel. Richard, good morning. What more can you tell us about what we're learning about this strike?
So this strike happened in an area called Al-Mawasi, which is in Gaza. It is a designated safe area. This is where Israel has been telling Gazans to go for months. It is a desert area, very little infrastructure. People are living there in tents. And the strike happened. Witnesses talk about 3 separate strikes, and there are 3 enormous craters in the sand, each one about 20 feet deep. According to civil defense officials, the numbers have been changing, but according to civil defense officials, they say that at least 20 tents were completely destroyed. People being described as buried under the sand, rescue workers using their hands and shovels to try and dig through those piles of sand and sand dunes to look for survivors or pieces of survivors. And they say that so far they have been able to identify 19 bodies. The earlier death toll put the figure at around 40 believed to have been killed. Israel acknowledges that it carried out this strike, says that it was carried out in coordination with the Israeli Air Force, and that it was a targeted strike, and that Hamas militants had been operating exactly in this area, that Israel struck a Hamas command and control structure where several militants were located at the time. So a major attack, and if you just look at the size of those craters, you get a sense of the power of the bombs that were used, that were just dropped on Gaza in this so-called safe area.
Richard, just describe what things are like in the region right now. It seems at every border with Israel, something is happening right now. What is the mood right now? What is the feeling about how much more things could escalate?
So all of these things are interconnected. The most pressing issue, the issue that is driving the vast majority of the tension in the region, is the ongoing war in Gaza. And images like the one that you just showed are circulating all across the region, inflaming tensions. People are outraged and I think almost reaching a boiling point. With this attack that happened today, according to the health ministry in Gaza, which is run by Hamas, more than 41,000 people have been killed since the start of Israel's war in Gaza, which it started after the October 7th massacre carried out by Hamas in Israel. By the way, it's almost 1 year since that attack took place. But as you mentioned, because of the ongoing tensions, because of the death toll, because of this boiling point, there is still a low-level war going on between Israel and Hezbollah along the Lebanese border. There were just strikes less than 48 hours ago that Israel carried out. According to the Syrian government, Israel hasn't commented in Syria. There is still the potential that Iran could carry out a retaliatory strike against Israel for Israel's also unacknowledged assassination of a Hamas leader in Tehran. So any day, this could spill out of control and develop into a regional war. And there are so many diplomatic efforts by the United States and Arab mediators to try and prevent that happening. But I can tell you, as someone who's covered this region for many years now, it feels like any day you could wake up to the news that straw broke the camel's back and we've slipped into a regional war. It is that tense.
All right. Richard Engel. Richard, appreciate your reporting. Thank you so much. Time now for a check on your morning news now weather. The big headline is the Gulf Coast bracing for a potential hurricane. Meteorologist Bill Cairns is tracking that for us. Bill, good morning.
Good morning to you, Joe. And yeah, this storm did not intensify overnight. No complaints. It was supposed to, but it hasn't yet. That doesn't mean it won't during the day today. We may even have a period of likely rapid intensification later on this afternoon. So everyone in Louisiana is watching this closely. They're making this is really the last day you can safely make all your preps. And a lot of people are trying to figure out if they should, leave, if they should evacuate. Obviously, listen to your emergency managers and take their advice. So here's the center of the storm. Here's Brownsville, Texas. This is the coast of Mexico. It's just kind of been sitting in the same spot. It's beginning to slowly now move, and we do expect it to accelerate towards the Louisiana coastline during the day today. Hurricane Center has it up to 80 miles per hour wind, becoming a hurricane later this morning into early this afternoon, then going up to 90, then going up to a Category 2 by tomorrow afternoon, right before landfall. So a serious storm. We'll have all the impacts of a hurricane. We'll have the severe weather, likely isolated tornadoes. We'll have storm surge. We'll have flooding. We'll have the wind that will do damage, knocking trees down in a lot of areas. The landfall location itself, though, is mostly a pretty swampy the area. It's not going to be beaches, with houses and hotels on it. Inland areas will see more of the wind damage. Then it'll be a big rain event heading up into Mississippi and Tennessee as we head towards the end of the weekend. So how confident are we on where the storm's going? All of these lines are our computer model telling us. So it's between Lake Charles and New Orleans, really pinpointing the Baton Rouge and Lafayette area. That was the most likely area to go through the center. Of course, heavy rain is expected with any tropical system. Flood watches are up for most of southern Louisiana and portions of Mississippi. And we do expect that moderate flood risk. That will really begin as we go throughout late tonight into tomorrow. And we do have the possibility of up to a foot of rain somewhere here. And that could include the New Orleans area, Joe. So that'll be serious, along with very strong winds at the coast. So this is a Wednesday event. Today's the last day of preps. People need to be prepared to be without power for a couple days, maybe even in some cases a week or two.
All right. Bill Cairns. Bill, thank you so much. And this morning, we have liftoff just before 5:30 a.m. Eastern Time. The SpaceX Dragon launched from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida for what's expected to be a historic trip to space. The Dragon is now finally in orbit around the Earth after the launch was delayed from late August. This daring mission, known as Polaris Dawn, will bring people farther from Earth than anyone has traveled since the NASA Apollo moon missions, 870 miles above our planet's surface. This will also be the first commercial crew to conduct a spacewalk. Now, because the Dragon doesn't have a pressurized air dock, during the spacewalk, the entire ship will open to the vacuum of space and will require every crew member to be fully suited up. This crew has spent 2.5 years preparing for this 5-day mission. The spacewalk gives the crew the chance to test new spacesuits that could one day be used in a future mission to the moon and beyond. And here in New York, Harvey Weinstein is in intensive care this morning after undergoing emergency heart surgery. The disgraced former movie mogul was moved from Rikers Island to a hospital for the emergency surgery Monday morning after complaining that he did not feel well. The 72-year-old is currently serving a 16-year sentence after he was convicted of rape by a jury in California. Movie fans are mourning the loss of one of the most iconic voices in Hollywood. James Earl Jones, whose career spanned 7 decades, was known for so many roles, including as the voice behind Star Wars supervillain Darth Vader and Mufasa in Lion King. He died yesterday at the age of 93. NBC News correspondent Steve Patterson takes a look back at Jones' life and legacy.
I shall pray for you morning and evening.
For over 70 years, he graced stage and screen with a voice that commanded attention.
Don't you try and go through life worried if somebody like you or not.
James Earl Jones was born in rural Mississippi in 1931, raised by his mother and his grandparents. As a child, he developed a debilitating stutter.
You never get over it, really. You simply learn how to work around it, you know.
A high school teacher helped Jones find his confidence and his voice. He fell in love with the stage at the University of Michigan and debuted on Broadway in 1957.
Just want to block and then keeping him off me.
His breakthrough Tony-winning performance came as boxing champ Jack Johnson in The Great White Hope, which was later turned into a movie.
Because every time you push that pinched-up face in front of me, I see where it done got me.
As his movie career grew, he continued acting on the small screen. The first celebrity guest on Sesame Street.
I am your father.
But it was a 2.5-hour voiceover session for George Lucas that changed his life.
So he hires a guy born in Mississippi, raised in Michigan, who stutters. And that's the voice, and that's me. I lucked out.
The role propelled him, or at least his voice, to worldwide fame as Darth Vader in Star Wars. For the next 40 years, he excelled on stage, winning a second Tony Award.
James Earl Jones.
And on the big screen, a Navy admiral in The Hunt for Red October.
I was never here.
In The Lion King.
You are more than what you have become.
The voice of a network.
This is CNN.
And the voice of all baseball fans in Field of Dreams.
People will come, Ray. People will most definitely come.
He received an honorary Academy Award, had a Broadway theater named for him, became a Kennedy Center honoree, continuing to work in new projects and revisiting classic roles.
I'm only brave when I have to be. May I have your attention, please?
On screen and in life, James Earl Jones was a king.
The goal wasn't to be a billionaire or to be a Hollywood star, to be a part of good storytelling.
the goal was about that.
I found you! He found his voice, and we got a legend. Steve Patterson, NBC News, Los Angeles.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.